So you've decided to make a change. You're going to eat healthier, maybe cut down on meat for yourself, for the planet, whatever the reason. Your motivation is through the roof. But hold on. There's this massive factor that most of us totally miss, and it has nothing to do with your willpower and everything to do with who's sitting right across the dinner table.
Oh, you know that feeling, right? You've made your special plant-based meal, you bring it to the table, and suddenly, there's a vibe. It could be a little joke, a side-eye, or just silence. Well, guess what? That feeling, it's not just in your head. It is a very real and very powerful force that can literally make or break your health goals.
And that's exactly what we're going to get into today. A new study took a deep dive into what really happens when one person in a family starts eating differently. And what they found is pretty mind-blowing. Turns out the secret to sticking with it has less to do with what's on your plate and a whole lot more to do with the people you're sharing that plate with. Let's break it down. Okay, so first things first, we've got to kind of reframe the whole problem. We tend to think of changing our diet as this solo mission, a personal battle of discipline. But this research says, nope, not really. It's actually a social challenge, a negotiation that happens right in the heart of the home, the dinner table. This quote, pulled straight from a participant's diary, just says it all, doesn't it? It's not some big, angry confrontation. It's subtle. It's that little throwaway comment that really means, hey, you're making things difficult. And those little comments, they build up, making you feel like you're the problem.
See, food is so much more than just fuel for our bodies. It's tradition, it's connection, it's how we show love. So when you suddenly change the menu, it can feel, even if nobody means for it to, like you're rejecting those traditions. You can end up feeling like an outsider in your own kitchen. And honestly, just the fear of that tension is enough to make a lot of people give up before they even begin.
So, if the family environment is so darn important, how do you even measure something like that? Well, the researchers behind this study have a term for it. They call it the family's relational climate.
The best way to think about relational climate is just your family's vibe. The overall emotional atmosphere when you're all together. And this isn't just some vague feeling. The study breaks it down into two really specific, measurable ideas: cohesion and flexibility.
First up, we've got cohesion, and this is all about the emotional bond. It's about finding that sweet spot between being your own person and being part of the family unit. Are you all super close and involved, or does everyone kind of do their own thing? And the second piece of the puzzle is flexibility, which is basically, how well does your family roll with the punches? When life throws a curveball, like, say, someone suddenly going vegan, does the whole system adapt? Or does it get super rigid and stressed out? It's all about how you handle shifts to your normal routine. This chart breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you've got balanced families. Think of them like a well-made mobile. All the pieces are connected, but each one has the freedom to move on its own. On the other side, unbalanced families can be either too distant or they can be enmeshed, so tangled up in each other's business that one person changing threatens to pull the whole thing down. Finding that healthy balance is absolutely key.
And this brings us to where the research gets really, really interesting. The study started connecting these family vibes directly to the day-to-day experiences people were having while trying to change how they eat.
I mean, this quote just captures that feeling of isolation so powerfully. It's not even about an argument. It's the simple act of making a different meal that can feel like you're building an invisible wall between you and that. The person feels like they're the one causing the division, and that puts a huge strain on that sense of family unity. But then, look at the flip side. This shows how one small act of support, like just buying some vegan croissants, can completely change the game. It's not really about the croissant, right? It's a signal. It says, I see you, I support you, I'm with you. It transforms the whole thing from a point of friction into something positive and shared.
So the study pretty much categorized all the different family reactions. On the negative end, you've got outright antagonism or dismissal, treating it like it's just a phase. Then in the middle, you have the more practical, logistical concerns. But where you want to be, the sweet spot, is at the positive end, positive problem solving. That's when the whole family gets together to figure it out as a team. So, does all this support actually make a difference? Well, the data was crystal clear. Yes, a huge yes. As you can see right here, the more social support a person felt from their family, the more successful they were at actually sticking to their diet. The connection is undeniable. And here it is, the headline finding that ties everything together. The research showed that people from those balanced families, the ones with that healthy cohesion and flexibility,
they're the ones who reported feeling way more supported. And that feeling of support, that was the single biggest predictor of whether they would succeed.
Okay, so we get it. Family support is absolutely critical. But what does that actually look like in a real messy kitchen on a Tuesday night? Well, this final section is all about the practical strategies that really work.
The diaries from the study were full of these brilliant, real-world solutions. Successful families found these clever workarounds, things like using simple substitutions that make shopping and cooking easier for everyone, or they'd make sure to preserve that all-important social time by cooking separately but always eating together. And one of the best strategies was to recenter the meal, like having a taco night where the base is all veggies and beans, and then everyone can add their own protein, whatever that might be. Simple, but it works.
But even with the best strategies, that emotional pull of family is so strong. It can feel like this constant tug of war inside your own head. You feel guilty for sticking to your goals, and then you feel guilty if you don't stick to them because someone made an effort for you. It's a classic emotional dilemma.
And this, really, is the ultimate takeaway. True success isn't about having a family where there's zero conflict. That's not realistic. It's about having a family system that is flexible and connected enough to navigate that change together, to turn one person's individual goal from a problem into a project for the whole team.
Which leaves us with a pretty big final thought to chew on. We spend so much time talking about individual choices and government policy when it comes to food, but what if one of the most powerful tools for change isn't in a farm or a factory, but it's happening right here, around the millions of dinner tables where families are having these exact same conversations every single night?